Welcome to Reolink. Besides PoE cameras, the Reolink wireless cameras can also connect to the Reolink PoE NVR. This video will give you a detailed guide about that. Very easy to follow. Just stay tuned. To make your Reolink Wi-Fi camera work with PoE NVR, first you need to make sure they are on the same LAN. So connect your PoE NVR to the LAN port of your router. And connect the Wi-Fi camera to another LAN port of the same router with an Ethernet cable. Make sure the camera is powered on when doing so. The next step, connect your camera to the Wi-Fi of the router via the Reolink app. Launch the Reolink app. You'll find your Wi-Fi camera has been added to the app automatically if your camera and phone are on the same network. Tap to start the device initialization. Create a device login password.
Hey guys, today we are configuring Reolink's 8-channel 4K network video recorder for first-time use. We'll walk through the initial steps required to get the NVR up and running and review some of the issues that you may run into. I'll connect the cameras to the back of the NVR with the supplied cables and run through the NVR initiation process to ensure the cameras are working as expected and that we can record footage to the internal hard drive. I like to verify this basic functionality before installing the cameras in their permanent location to make sure everything is working correctly. Now this NVR can be purchased on its own or as a part of a kit with multiple cameras like this one here. This one came as an all-in-one solution with 4 4K cameras. I've already unboxed the system and introduced all of their technical specifications in a previous video. Do check that out for a solid understanding of this system and everything that it offers. The NVR alone will run you about $200 US, and as a part of a 4K kit, it'll cost closer to $500, which, like I mentioned before, is a great price for such a quality system. I'll add direct links to Reolink and Amazon in the description below. Sometimes I have coupon codes for the Reolink site, so do check that out as well. Let's get started and connect everything to the back of the NVR. Using the 4 included network cables, I'll connect the 4 cameras to the PoE ports on the back of the NVR. This system will work without internet, but internet will be required for remote access. Let's continue without internet for now. HDMI connection here for my monitor. Let's get that mouse connected into the USB port. And now for the power supply. Let's flick the switch and get it powered up. On startup, we have the splash screen, which looks pretty nice. While the device is booting up, I want to set some expectations. On first startup, the NVR is going to bring us into the setup wizard, which is exactly what we want, some help or guidance to get the system functional. Reolink does go a little bit overboard and takes us down a pretty long, complicated and technical path, which is not really required for an initial setup. We're not going to fill out those unnecessary sections in the wizard, but I will explain their purpose and the terminology. This video is about testing the basics so I can proceed with the outdoor installation. Let's look at the first step in the wizard, the language selection. I'll leave this as English. Here we are setting up the username admin. I need to create a password with at least 6 characters. Too bad you couldn't connect a keyboard to the USB port here. I tried it and it doesn't work. Also, to make capital letters or numbers, click on the little AB icon next to the text box. With that said, there is a little learning curve to figure out these oddities of the user interface. Also, where it says enter, it should read OK because it doesn't actually submit the form when you click enter like you would expect. Oh cool, you see that the 4 cameras are connected and were automatically recognized and activated by the NVR with no input from me. That's an awesome sign. Level here is the level of access that this account should have. It's disabled because it's the admin account and it's the highest level of access and the one that we need to set up first. With the enable password checkbox checked, this means that you will have to enter the password every time you access the NVR directly. I'll be leaving that off, so whenever I want to access the NVR, password is not required. At the bottom of this dialog, we have display wizard when booting up. This will show the wizard on boot up every time that I start up the NVR. Then what your screen can support, no image will be displayed. For example, I was using a 4K monitor a few days ago and I set the resolution here to 4K. But now I've connected a 1080p monitor and I get this message. To fix this, I had to reconnect my 4K monitor, then lower the resolution setting on the NVR, then reconnect this monitor. Too bad the NVR doesn't auto-detect the resolution of the attached screen. Then we have a time zone, which is pretty straightforward. I am in Mountain Time. And we'll see this in another video when I connect the NVR to my mobile device. Lastly, here on the screen we have Unit ID. This is pre-programmed and cannot be updated. The QR code is used to connect your PC or mobile device to the NVR. I'm surprised to see the QR code here in this point in the setup process and not at the end once the NVR is all set up and ready to use. Also, some verbiage about the purpose of the QR code would be beneficial here. If you do scan the code, here's what happens. It just references to the number that's on the screen for Unit ID. If I scan the code with the Reolink app, and like with the mobile app, has better English and a more friendly user interface. Let's continue with the wizard to ensure we don't miss any critical steps in the initial setup. So we'll click Next. Next, here on the hard drive management screen, we see the hard disk information. Label is the internal name given to the drive. Format is if the drive has been formatted, and mount is if the drive is recognized by the NVR's firmware. Free space is how much usable space is remaining on the drive. This is a 2000 gigabyte or 2 terabyte drive, but its indicated capacity is 1855 with even lower free space. This is expected as the NVR uses hidden space for file management. The drive should already be formatted when you get the system, but I'll reformat mine here so you see how the process looks. Click on the checkbox next to the drive that you'll be formatting. Click Init, which really means format, and you'll see a confirmation that all the data will be wiped off of this drive. There's no format progress bar at all, and all of a sudden the box disappears. But if you slow it down, there's actually a small flash of a success message here. Now we move into network configuration. This is not a critical step, and it seems strange that they would include this in the initial setup wizard. I can see non-technical people arriving at this point with total confusion on these acronyms and no idea what to do. Basically, this screen is asking where should the NVR live on the network. Under network access, we have DHCP, which means the NVR will obtain an IP address off of your network or from your router wherever there's one available. You could select static here if you wanted to and give the device a permanent IP address. The default gateway is the IP address of your modem or router. Any communication from the NVR to your network or to the internet goes through your router. Mine here shows us all zeros because I'm not connected to my router, but in this shot right here, I am connected and you can see the IP address of my router. So nothing needs to be touched on this screen. We'll click Next and continue on. Here in Device List, we have all of the cameras connected to the NVR or on my network. Let me click on Refresh here because the list might not have been updated since before the cameras were detected. Okay, cool. Here are the cameras with their associated IP addresses. The NVR is acting as a router here to control the physically connected devices, which are the cameras. I'll quickly update their names here, but you cannot update which block they will display their live feed in or their channel. We can update that once we're done the wizard. Before moving on, I want to show you something. I ran through the wizard with the NVR attached to my home network where I have multiple security cameras. The NVR recognized these existing cameras and of course the ones connected to the ports on the NVR. But check out this screen. My 4 connected Reolink cameras are all named Channel 1, which is probably because that's their default name that's already pre-installed on their firmware. But notice the camera status of disconnect. They actually mean disconnected here, but it's confusing as to why it's showing the status, since the cameras are connected directly to the back of the NVR and should have priority over any camera found on my network. I'll show you how I fix this once we're done the wizard. Let's move on to the next screen. Here we have the email configuration screen for allowing the NVR to send you email notifications. Again, not required and no additional help provided as a wizard assistant should. Let's move on and go to the next. UID. Here is my NVR's unique identifier, which we already saw earlier in this wizard. The button to send it to email is used if you need a copy of the number to enter into Reolink's PC client or the app. Again, not a major step in setting up the NVR by any means. Click Next, and here we have the DDNS configuration for setting up a domain name for your NVR. Pretty technical stuff and older technology which you wouldn't really expect to see in the setup at this point. So let's skip and go to Next. On the setup time configuration screen, this is where you could allow the NVR's clock and date to be updated and kept in sync over the internet. I'll leave it at that, so it updates every 24 hours or to synchronize the system for right now and to test out the feature, as you see here. Feature on in the previous screen, this should not really be a concern. And click Finish. So we finally completed the wizard, and we can see that the 4 cameras are being displayed on the screen. If the cameras were not added as expected, we would right click and then click on the home icon to bring up the main menu. And the first section is called IP channel, and here we have the status of each camera connected to the NVR and on the network. The status values you could see here are previewing, offline, or invalid password. As promised, I'll reassign each camera here to a different channel placeholder. Back here in my other scenario where I set up the NVR and I was connected to my network, the connected cameras had a status of disconnect, and here they have a status of blank, which means there's no channel assigned to that camera. To fix that, I need to give each one of the cameras a channel, and then the NVR will pick them up and display them in the live feed. It's a little confusing, but it's a pretty easy fix. Lastly, let's go and make sure all the cameras are recording to the hard drive. Go down to Recording, and here on the Encode tab, it shows the video properties. I'll click on Record Audio because I want to record any sound around the cameras. I'll keep the other settings as is because I want to record at 4K resolution with a maximum frame rate and a high quality bit rate. Mainstream, of course, is for the feed recorded by the NVR, and the substream is a lower resolution stream for viewing the feed on the app if you need to save on data to ensure that they have the same settings and they look good. Want to handle recordings for each of the cameras or channels using this drop-down. The Enable checkbox allows us to turn on and off the recording schedule. In the legend below, blue means normal, which really means continuous recording. By default, all of the cameras are recording continuously. And white means not to record during that time period. Motion is detected between 6 AM and save, and let's make sure it's saved by going to camera. Now I'm ready to install the cameras. Well, technically the cameras are already installed for my next video, which will be coming out real soon. The wizard does need some trimming and polishing, but it provided a good glance into some of the more advanced features that this unit offers. I like how the camera is auto-connected and started full-time recording. More videos to come on the install and navigating about those various user interfaces.
In this video, we'll show you how to initially set up your Reolink camera system. You don't need to set up the cameras one by one. Just connect the cameras to the NVR and set up the NVR. To connect the cameras to the NVR, there are 2 ways for you to choose from. Connecting the IP cameras to the PoE NVR directly with an Ethernet cable, or connecting the IP cameras and NVR to the same router. Before connecting, you need to power on the NVR with a 48-volt DC power adapter first, and turn on the power switch if there is one. Then, for the first method, connect an Ethernet cable from the camera's network port to one of the PoE ports of the NVR. If you want to check your NVR on your Reolink app or client or on a web browser, you need to connect another Ethernet cable from the LAN port of your NVR to the LAN port of the router. For the second method, you need to connect the NVR to a router with an Ethernet cable. Then connect all the cameras to a PoE switch and connect the PoE switch to the same router as the NVR. Then connect all the cameras to a PoE switch For the second method, you need to connect the NVR to a router with an Ethernet cable. Then, for the first method, connect an Ethernet cable from the camera's network port to one of the PoE ports of the NVR. If you want to check your NVR on your Reolink app or client or on a web browser, you need to connect another Ethernet cable from the LAN port of your NVR to the LAN port of the router . For the second method, you need to connect the NVR to a router with an Ethernet cable. Then connect all the cameras to a PoE switch and connect the PoE switch to the same router as the NVR. After connecting the cameras to NVR, let's now move on to the initial setup. I'll show you 3 ways. Set up the NVR on a monitor, on the Reolink app, and on the Reolink client. Setting up the kit on your monitor is convenient. You just connect the NVR to your monitor or TV with a VGA cable or the provided HDMI cable. Then connect the mouse to the USB port and you can start to configure the NVR, including the language, resolution, time, device name, storage, network, and email settings. And you'll see all the channels on the screen, as the Add Devices Automatically option is enabled by default. Setting up the NVR on the Reolink app is also an easy way to go. Launch the Reolink app. If your phone and NVR are connected to the same network, the NVR will also be added automatically to the app. And you can find all camera channels under the Devices tab. Choose any one of the devices to start the initialization. Create a login password, name the device, and modify other settings as you need. Initialization finished. If the NVR failed to be added automatically, in some cases, you may also tap the Add Device button or manually add the NVR. You can choose to scan the QR code on the NVR, tap Enter to manually enter the UID number or IP address, or tap LAN to search your device in LAN to add the kit. To initially set up the NVR on the Reolink client, the steps are just similar. You could connect your computer and NVR to the same network to automatically add the NVR to the client. Then, to set up the login password and device name, or manually add it by scanning device in LAN, or entering the UID number or IP address. That's all for how to initially set up your Reolink camera system. And now you can go about mounting the cameras. If you run into any issues with the setup and installation, don't hesitate to contact our support team. Uh-uh.